Satan is a son of a bitch. Satan is a son of a bitch. Satan is a son of a bitch. But Jesus is a friend of mine. One of these days, Jesus gonna kick old Satan's ass. It's gonna be a sight.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of American Rambler. I'm your host, Colin Woodward. Thank you for listening to the podcast. On today's show, I have musician Billy Don Burns. He has a new album out. It's called I've Seen a Lot of Highway. You can get it today. It came out on October 6th. You can go over to billydonburns.net if you want to order it there. It's available on vinyl. You can also get it on Amazon. But also check out his tour dates. Billy Don is touring this fall. I'm not sure exactly where he's going to be next, but I'm hoping he comes to Virginia at some point. I think the closest he's getting is somewhere in South Carolina. Maybe in 2024 he'll come this way, but I've talked to Billy Don a few times on the phone. I originally wrote about him for the Encyclopedia Arkansas. I'm not sure where I found out about him. I guess I was going down some kind of rabbit hole. I was amazed that no one had written about him yet for the Encyclopedia Arkansas. Whatever I found, I heard about Billy going to prison and getting stabbed, whatever it was, 17 times in East Texas bar. So I said, wow, this guy, he's like something out of Crazy Heart. So I got to write about this guy. And as is often the case with writing about someone from Arkansas, you can get a direct line to that person, which has happened before, especially with musicians. So I was able to talk to Billy Don for that article, and I think I've talked to him at least twice since then. This time he had an album coming out, so we had a long talk. Unfortunately, our talk was much longer than what you're going to hear here. This was the Zoom part of it. I won't get into the details of the Zoom snafus, but I think even though this is only about 20 minutes, it'll give you a good sense of who he is and what the album is about and his past in country music. He knew a lot of guys. He knew Waylon Jennings. You know, he hung out with Jerry Lee Lewis, Mack Vickery, who he's going to talk about here. He knew him. He knew Hank Cochran, Johnny Paycheck. So he knew a lot of those guys in the 70s and into the 80s and beyond. And a lot of them are dead now. Billy Don is 74, so he's been around a while and he has seen a lot, and you will hear all about that on I've Seen a Lot of Highway. There's one spoken word song, but the rest are, typical Billy Don songs. So I think if you know Billy Don, you like his music, you should like the new album. I liked it. I'm trying to go through his back catalog, listening to some of the older stuff. He talks about some older albums and songs on this, so you can go on Amazon, get Graveyard Montgomery or Heroes or any of those albums that he has done previously, and he's been pretty productive the last few years, so he's got a new one out and we're going to talk about it here. So I'm not going to talk about anything else. I want you to just listen to this, get the album. I've got some music clips that we're going to play throughout to give you an idea of what he's been writing and what he's been putting onto the record. One thing I should add is maybe a couple times you will hear Susan, Billy Don's manager Susan, and she is the one who set up the Zoom call, and she was kind of looking stuff up while we were talking and also helping us remember a few things. So if you hear a third person, that is Susan. So I hope you will enjoy this. My talk with Billy Don Burns.
Don't cry for me. Don't cry
Billy Don.
for me.
Yeah, buddy.
How are you, my friend?
I'm
Hanging in there, man. I'm old and high mileage, but I'm hanging in there,
So you're in Nashville.
Yeah.
You got a show?
No, I just came from Crossville, Tennessee, about 2 hours east of here. That's where my son lives, and
Okay.
I'm on my way to Jonesboro, Arkansas for a gig tomorrow night.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks for making time with me. And yeah, I want to talk about the new album, which, I was excited to listen to. I'm guessing you're going to be playing a lot of songs off the new album, right?
Yeah.
And you were just in Ireland.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It went good. I left Ireland Sunday and been on the road ever since then. I mean, I don't even know what day of the week this is now.
Thursday.
I know I left Ireland on Sunday, and that's the last place I slept in the same bed 2 nights in a row since I left there.
Yeah, well, that's pretty exhausting. You were there, what, like 10 days?
I, 8 or 9, something like that, I think. Yeah,
Okay. And the audiences are good?
they were good, man. The mayor of Kilkenny, Ireland, gave me a gift of whiskey.
Oh yeah.
I played one club there called the Billy Burns Club, and so it was Billy Burns playing Billy Burns.
Oh, that's cool.
But they spelled Burns Byrns, I think it was.
Okay. All right. So you must have played of a bunch of different places there.
Yeah, yeah.
And you'd been there before, I'm guessing.
I've never been to Ireland or Scotland, which I still ain't been to Scotland, but I've played Europe 10 or 12 times in my life. You know, mostly Germany, England, Poland, Scandinavia a lot, Norway, Sweden, up in there.
Okay. So yeah, right. So it was your first trip to Ireland. That's cool.
Yeah,
And how do you find the audiences there?
man, they were good to me. They were good to me.
You got your whiskey and your with it was just those acoustic shows, just you and your guitar?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had a rock band from Texas that rocked their asses. I mean, they were good. I got along with those boys good. They thought I was a star, you know, but I tell you what, them boys can rock, man.
Yeah. So how long were you doing each night, like in terms of time,
Uh,
like an hour or more?
uh, an hour would be the most because we had the band coming on, you know, and then places was packed and drinking, and
Okay.
but it was good.
What kind of whiskey did the mayor give you?
Jameson,
Okay. That's good stuff.
it is, it is. You know, I'm a whiskey drinker.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let me ask about the album. It hasn't been that long since your last few. You had a couple of years ago. So what's been going on? When did you decide like it's time to do another album?
Well, you know, that album we put out a couple of days after COVID hit. It didn't do nothing, of course, and all my dates got canceled. And Jerry Lassender, who's been a friend of mine for about 35 years, he's Layla Tucker's daddy, Tanya's baby daughter.
Okay.
And he called me and said, "Man, let's do an album." And man, that's how it started. I had to fire Jerry before it was over, but
Where where did you record this new one?
we cut some in Muscle Shoals and in about 4 other studios around Nashville.
Okay. Had you recorded Muscle Shoals before?
Yeah, I recorded there when I was 4 Star in 1977. That's back when Fame Studios was happening, you know.
Okay.
Joe Johnson took me down there, and we went to Fame and checked it out. And I told Joe, I said, "Joe, I've heard about an old studio here called Broadway Sound. I'd like to check it out." And we went by there, and hell, I think they had an old 16-track MCI board. But the guy said, Percy Sledge cut When a Man Loves a Woman here, and Leonard Skinner cut one of their famous songs. Can't think of it right now. I told Joe,
Yeah.
I said, "I want to record here, Joe," and we did.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's got quite a history.
Mm,
The Stones and a
yeah.
bunch of other guys. Do you like that? Did you like that studio?
Yeah, I got it. We did with Jerry. We worked at Wishbone Studio, which Billy Lawson owns it. I never really knew Billy, but we knew of each other, and now we're good buddies. So it was a good experience.
Now, is there not much around the studio? Is it just kind of like out there somewhere?
Yeah, they're just here and there down there. You know, they're
Yeah.
uh, but but man, there's a lot of great musicians live around there, and And my old buddy Mack Vickery, when they put him in the Alabama Hall of Fame, it's all in like a 3-town area, like Sheffield, Muscle Shoals, and I forget the other town. But I tell you, Alabama Music Hall of Fame is like Max Starr is between Percy Sledge and Lionel Richie. And I didn't know till that day. Mac wrote more songs for Jerry Lee Lewis than anybody. He wrote 28. Was Sam Phillips came down to induct Mac into the Hall of Fame because he's from Alabama too.
Yeah.
And when Mac introduced me to Sam Phillips, I said, "Mr. Phillips, real honored to meet you, sir." He said, "Hell, son, just call me Sam." He said, "Me and Mac was both born poor white trash right down that road right there." That's what Sam Phillips said to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
It's got quite a history, that area. A lot of, bit more recent bands have come out of there too. And it just keeps churning them out. I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah, a lot of people come out of North Alabama. It's pretty great. So when did I don't know how your process is, Billy Don. Like, do you kind of store up ideas for a while and you say, I got enough ideas to make an album? Or do you just kind of say, all right, I'm going to cut an album this time of year or whatever, I need to start writing? How does your process work?
Well, Colin, I feel like I'm about wrote out. I mean, I think
Really?
only 2 new ones on this album, but I'm trying to get all my songs recorded I can before I die, because like the oldest song on this album is about 35 years old, but I never recorded it. Motel Madness, you heard the album, you said?
Yeah.
I wrote that when I was losing my family, and I'd always not recorded. I don't know. One reason because it hurts so damn bad. But I knew if I didn't cut it on this album, it'd probably never be recorded. It's a great song. Could be Motel Madness. It might be Highway Blind. I just can't seem to get it off my mind. And now every time I hear the album, I think, you love pain and misery, don't you, buddy? Because you got her now.
These days are the loneliest of all. It would be so easy if I worked from 9 to 5. You guys down at the office have the life. Might be Motel Madness, I could be highway blind, but I just can't seem to get her off my mind.
I really liked it, and it's interesting you said that about the songs kind of being from the last few decades, because I mean, in a way, it sounds like stuff that you're going through at any time, any year. But it also had the feel of guys have been on the road for a long time, and I mean it's right there in the title about the highway. So it did feel like, yeah, this is stuff coming out of your entire career on the road. Who'd you have help from?
Well, old Tim Ledford, he's got to be a good buddy of mine, and I like Tim, and so I told him, I said, Tim, if you're going to write with me, here's how I write. They start coming out. Don't stop me. If I write every damn word of it, don't stop me. And I only had to cuss him twice. And after it's all over, he said, I'm glad I didn't stop you. And I said, we got a song together, Tim, because I wasn't wrote it. And Tim's a truck driver,
Okay.
We've both seen a lot of highway.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that happened. And the 2 of those songs, me and Mack Vickery, that some about earlier, wrote, and they're years old too, like Neon Circus, and that's when I knew that's the 2 me and Mack wrote.
Welcome to the Neon Circus. Step right up and see all the clowns. Just a few drinks buys the ticket to the greatest show in town. There's Hank's wife, she been out all night with that boot hill buddy again. After she gets what she wants, she'll go back home to him. And the blonde that left with the drummer last night, she back.
Mack's been dead since 2003. When he died, the Tennessean called Merle Kilgore and then called me, because Mack ran with Merle the first 20 years here, and his last 20 years he ran with me.
Well, you toward the end of the album, you have the Mack story. Do you want to tell that story again? It's kind of a spoken word part you have.
Well, oh yeah, man, we run a lot of trails together. Mack was one of the greatest cats I ever ran with. And, you know, all them years in Nashville, somebody was always going to take me to meet Jerry Lee Lewis. And as a matter of fact, me and Hank Cochran started down there 2 or 3 times, and Hank would always say, "Man, you ain't going to like him, and he ain't going to like you. Turn this down, Rolls Royce around, and let's go to Gatlinburg and write songs." One day, Mack called me and said, "Man, I just talked to the killer, and we're going to spend the weekend with him." And it was one of the best weekends of my life, just me and Mack and Jerry Lee.
Yeah, and the story in the album you're talking about, you guys are in a hotel having some problems with your cocaine hookup.
Well, we were both heavy druggers, you know. Hank was the heaviest drugger I ever ran with.
Yeah.
Mack would have second, and I'm probably coming there third, I guess. But we were smoking the cocaine at that time, and it just kicking our ass every day. And when we come into Nashville, I said, "Mack, let me out." Used to be an old crank whore hotel where they built a football stadium. I said, "I'm gonna check in there and kill myself. I can't take another ice whooping from this cocaine." And Mack said, "Hell, I'll check in there with you." Mack had a nice home with a pool and all that. We'd been on the road 2 months. So we checked in that motel and we got down on our knees and prayed and we got up and we wrote "That's When I Knew." And Mack got on the phone and he said, "Man, I just found out I got a check for, I think it's $8,700 or something." He said, "Let's go get it and get it cashed." He said, "What are we going to do then?" I said, "Hell, Mack, let's go to California." And we just came from Atlanta, Georgia. Mack said, "That's a great idea." We bought us 2 A-balls and headed out to California.
Yeah, I thought that story was going to go in a different direction. It seemed like you'd had it with the cocaine, but I guess you still had at least one more trip left in you.
Brother, I fought the drugs all my life.
Yeah.
And the way I always justify them calling is I buy them with my money. If I stole to buy my drugs, I'd kill myself. I'd do the favor. But
Well, I'm glad you guys got through that, and it seems like a religious moment, but then it kind of takes a turn there. But you do have some moments on this where I don't know, they seem like salvation songs to me, some of them.
well, I tell you, Jesus is a big part of my life too.
Yeah.
I really feel that I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. And I feel like I'm the lowest one that he ever had. I mean, you know, Paul and John the Baptist and all that bunch is on the other end, and I'm on this end. But
were you always that way?
Yeah.
You grew up in the church, I'm guessing?
My mama had us in church every time the doors was open. I was baptized when I was 10 at Gaylor Creek. You know, I wrote a song Cody G did called Gaylor Creek Church. Yeah. If you're raised on Jesus, I don't think you ever really totally get away from it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I hear that. Was there a while where you weren't thinking about religion much? Weren't thinking about Jesus much, or was it always kind of there?
It was always kind of there, I guess. I mean, I've done enough since to ask God to forgive me and have mercy on my soul before I go to sleep, you know.
Yeah. Did it help you get off the drugs?
To the people, it's the lowest, darkest, baddest, worst of all. But and you know who got me into that, man, was, and I ain't blaming it on Kenny. is one of the most famous drummers ever, Kenny Bedry. He's been dead about 15, 20 years now. Kenny played on Heart of Gold, Neil Young. He played on Lay Bob Dylan, Nashville Skyline album, Margaritaville, Jimmy Buffett. Kenny was a Nashville boy. In his first session, he's 15 years old, played on Harper Valley PTA.
Oh, wow.
But Kenny told me when he wanted to do an album on me, he said, man, if you want to do the good drugs, get you a little nurse like I got. And they can shoot you up the best shit out there. That's how I got in. Got me a nurse, and that's how that happened. And we broke up. You know, I've been to treatment a bunch of times and shit like that. Last time I went to treatment, Shooter wanted me to go, and I said, Shooter, I ain't got the money or the time. And he said, man, I already talked to the people at the Grammys, and they're going to pay for it. Shooter got the Grammy people to pay for my last treatment deal, which is about, I think, $27,000 or something.
Jesus. One
time I was in treatment for about 6 days with a funny black guy caught on fire, freebasing.
Musician?
No, actor.
Richard Pryor?
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor, yeah.
Me and Richard hit it off. We went together about 6 days, but we hit it off.
Oh my God. I didn't know that, Billy.
Richard came up to me the first time I met him. He said, "Go do," and he said, "Hey man," he said, "I understand you're friends with Willie." I said, "Yeah, I'm friends with Willie." Richard said, "Ask Willie about me, man." "Yeah, ask Willie about me, man." And I said, "Damn, Richard." I said, "It sounds like I'm in South Central doing a drug deal with," and he got laughed and we bumped hands.
Wow. So this was when Pryor was really strung out then.
Yeah. You know, I sat by him one day, and remember when he caught on fire?
Yeah.
Man, his ear and neck melted. I mean, it was bad.
Yeah. I can't remember when that was. I guess it was like early 80s, maybe.
Probably. I know Johnny Carson was still happening because Richard was on there one night and he struck a match and he moved it around. He said, "That's me, man." I caught on fire, he said. But he was a funny guy and nice guy, and we hit it off, man.
Yeah. Hey, wow.
Hey, it's June 9th, 1980. He caught on fire.
1980. Okay. Yeah. Well, he kind of had a comeback. He did come back from that. And then of course he had all those health problems later. Let's talk about Shooter for a second, because Shooter's on the album too. So you've known Shooter for a long time, I'm guessing.
You know, I remember when Jessie was pregnant with Shooter. That would have been, I'll say, 71, 72, maybe.
Okay.
My memories. Wait a minute. No, I'm wrong on that. I came to Nashville in 72. Jessie was pregnant with Shooter around 1980.
Okay.
He was born in 1979. May 19th, 1979 is his birthday.
Okay.
But I never really knew Shooter because, after Waylon got to be a superstar, I could get in to see him. I never didn't get to Waylon when I tried to. But, and I got a record deal in Canada for 4 years. And anyway, so about 15 years ago, Shooter called me and asked me to tour with him. And when we got on the road, he said, "You know why I called you to tour with me?" I said, "Because I knew your mom and daddy." And he said, "No." He said, "My wife, Misty, is from Topeka, Kansas. And when she was 18 years old, she bought your Heroes album at a Best Buy, and it changed her life." And he said, "She has been on my ass ever since I married her to tour with you." I hadn't met her at the time, and I said, "Shooter, I love your wife." You know,
man, that's great.
You know, when I got out of prison, my Harley was at their house in Hollywood Hills. I went to get it, and they showed me their arms. The day I got out of prison, Shooter and Misty had BDB tattooed on their arm.
Oh, wow.
Ain't that wild?
Yeah.
I was lost for words. I kept thinking, man, I must have missed something because that blew my mind, you know.
And you said you knew Waylon pretty well?
Yeah, yeah. I got in with that bunch about the time I got here, and they all liked me. I never got a Waylon Cup, but I never played Waylon a tune. Every time I'd get the nerve to play him a song, and I could go by his office or wherever he's at, I knew where he hung out and all that. Jack Clement or Chris Christopherson, or always some big writer would turn up, and I'd back out every time.
Yeah. Well, Waylon's he's a pretty imposing guy. I think I'd be a little shy to play a song in front of him too. And you also did a song with his grandson, right, on this album?
Yeah, Way's daddy Terry, that was Waylon's oldest son.
Okay.
I'd known Way on and off over the years, and well, his daddy Terry was my manager for about 3 years.
Okay.
And when we was doing this album, Way got a hold of him and he said, "Hey man, I'm got a big gig in Chicago. If you'll open for me, I'll give you 1,500." And I said, "I'll do it, buddy."
Yeah.
And it made me feel so good that he'd call an old cat like me instead of one of his running buddies. So I said, "Hey, Way, I'm working on a new album. You want to sing on it?" And he said, "Damn right I do." He said, "Shooter sang on it, didn't he?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "I'd love to." So that's how that happened.
Yeah. Well, Way kind of sounds more like Waylon than Shooter does.
Yes, he does. Yes, he
Yeah.
does. He got that. He did that.
Woke up this morning, she's gone.
All right, that was my talk with Billy Don Burns. I hope you enjoyed that. Once again, the album is I've Seen a Lot of Highway. You can get it at his website, billydonburns.net. You can also get it on Amazon. The vinyl is $25 on Billy Don Burns' website, which is a good deal for a new vinyl. But you can download it, get it other ways. But definitely check it out and enjoy talking to Billy Don once again. The song that we're hearing right now is the song he did with Way Jennings. So we had one with Shooter and one with Way, and hopefully Billy Don will be coming to a venue near you in 2024, or if you're lucky, this fall. So check out his tour dates on his website as well. And once again, hope to see him in Virginia before too long. He's never played Richmond, oddly, so would love to see him here in town. All right, well, that's about it for me. Don't want to go my usual ramble. The baseball season is over. Red Sox finished in last place again, 2 years in a row. Not good. So a lot to do in the off season, but I'll try to watch some of the playoffs and see what's going on. I don't think you should ever underestimate the Twins, but we'll see what happens. And I guess I'm rooting for the Orioles more than any other team, and my money would certainly be on them to win it all, but you never know. Playoffs are a different scene, so if you lose the last game of the year, it doesn't really matter, to quote Moneyball, which is kind of harsh, but I know what they're talking about. But hopefully the Orioles will win one. They haven't won one since '83, and they won over 100 games, so had a great season. But I will be watching. So yeah, once again, buy Billy Don's album. I've Seen a Lot of Highway. All right, hope you're doing well. I'm sick of the mosquitoes and ready for fall to come in and kill all the bugs. All right, I'll be talking with you soon. Take care. Bye.
I went crazy.